Welcome to the Future Proof Knowledge Podcast, where we explore the ideals and tools shaping our world. I'm your host, Jashon Mills, and today we are diving into a topic that is on everyone's mind: artificial intelligence. We hear about it everywhere. It promises to make us smarter, more productive, and more creative. From the apps on our phones to the tools we use at work, AI is becoming an incredible enabler, a true superpower in our daily lives. But in this rush to embrace technology, are we at risk of losing something uniquely human, our intuition, that gut feeling, the internal compass that has guided us for centuries? That brings us to the core question of today's episode: tech and trust, using AI as a tool, not as a compass. And on this journey today, we will be joined by Miss Olive Hickmott, who you all know from our previous episodes. And I'd like to go ahead and introduce her and have her come up and say hello and give a little bit about herself and what she's been up to. So, with that, if I can figure out how to unmute her mic, we'll get her going. There we go. How's it
Hello.
going, Olive?
Hello. Oh my goodness. I've now got an echo.
It's coming across clear on this side, so we'll just roll with it for now.
Okay. Um, just bear with me a moment.
No worries. While Olive gets that together, let's see. How do we harness the power of AI to build businesses, accelerate our learning, and unlock new opportunities without handing over the driver's seat? How do we find the perfect balance between data-driven insights and the wisdom of human experience? To help us navigate this conversation, I'm thrilled to be joined by Miss Olive Hickmott, who I think is ready to go now.
Well, let's see what happens now. I'm still getting an echo, but if you're not getting it, I'll just try and ignore it.
Let's see if we can ignore it because it sounds good on my end now.
Okay. Um, yeah.
This is what happens when Alan's not around. Sorry, folks. Alan is out doing his thing and getting us to the next level of our journey. And he usually is behind the controls and knows everything, but today it's us, and that's what you get to deal with, and we're going to get through
Okay.
it.
And so, what would you like me to talk about, Jason?
Well, since today is going to be about technology and the way we use it in our daily lives, what are some of the AI technology tools that you're familiar with that you've learned over the past year, possibly, and that you use, or that tools you may know of that you don't use because of the fear of what the tool can do or privacy? What are some of your concerns, and what are some of the tools that you do like to use that are based in AI?
Okay, fine. Um, Firstly, I should say that I was around when the internet was invented, and so I sort of have a view that everything will be all right. But I know a number of people who are really concerned about it. Um, what tools have I used? I've used ChatGPT um, for just improving the way I'm trying to describe something. I could do with ChatGPT at the moment to get this echo off my ears, but still, they um, and so when I do blogs, which I do on a regular basis, I quite often put them through ChatGPT to see if they can make them slightly more concise and clearer. So that's one thing I use them for. Um, I've You guys have encouraged me to use Gamma and taken a number of my documents and made them into really lovely presentations Um, let me see, what else? What else have I used it for? Uh, that's all I can think of at the moment, but I'm sure I'm missing something here.
Oh no, that's fabulous. And you touched on one of the AI tools that I find to be quite powerful and I really enjoy it, and that is the Gamma app. So what Gamma is that Ms. Olive just spoke of is it is a AI application where you can take um, plain text and upload it into a form, or you can documents, upload files, um, and it will take that information and you can choose whether you want a presentation, a document. It can create a website for you, and based off from a prompt, or you can let the AI just do its thing. It will create the most fabulous presentations and documents that are so easy to get in there and edit and fine tune. In my experience, the first draft is usually pretty darn good coming from Gamma with very little bit of editing. Um, and that is an absolutely fabulous tool. Now, when we're talking about AI tools, one of the things we hear about a lot, especially in the news, and I'm here in the US, and I mean, it's commercials and everything are all focusing on AI. And one of the biggest things is the fear of AI. Like, what is AI doing with my data? If I upload this document, how is that being used? And that is a legitimate fear of trying to protect your personal identifying information. And oftentimes, especially when you're dealing with things like medical, there's different compliance levels you have to meet, like HIPAA, GDPR, and things like that. So when we're playing with AI tools, there are some safeguards that we should always pay attention to. Um, we need to watch what we're uploading. We need to watch what information we give to these tools, because you never know what the terms of agreement are. They list the terms of agreement, but just like anything, you can grab any product you purchase and go grab their terms of agreement page. It's the finest print. It's 3 miles long, and no one ever reads it. And I think that's by design, because if you really got a chance to read clearly into the terms of agreement, most products we use today we probably wouldn't use. But anyways, now I'm running off on a sidetrack. So there's
Uh,
multiple tools. Um, how do you feel about any of that there? You got any input on that?
yeah, I was going to just say, the other day I was I was reading a book for the second time, which I really love doing, and I thought I'll ask ChatGPT whether it can summarise it for me. And it was just a book I bought, and lo and behold, it produced a summary of it. And I was really shocked about that. I had no idea it could do that. And then I asked it the same question about one of my books, and lo and behold, it summarised one of my books. Now, these books go through a print publisher and they land on Amazon. I have no idea how it can read them. Please explain.
Now that is a fascinating one. So in how do I break that down into simple terms? Okay, so essentially everything, so your Amazon book, the book you created that's on Amazon, it has an identifier code. Um, what AI systems are really good at is scraping information. So when you make a request like that, it's fine. It's going to search every bit of data it can find, and these systems are super smart. And it's going to grab all the content from your book. And to be quite honest, I'm going to have to admit, I don't quite know how, if the book is to be sold and you can't open up the book and read it on Amazon, I don't understand how AI can break that barrier and get in to read all the pages and then create a summary. That gap, I'm not clear on. But I do know if you have a book, and let's say it's in PDF format,
Yeah.
AI, then AI is just going to scan every single line of it. The way language models like Google Gemini and ChatGPT, they've been trained on billions and billions of data sets. Um, so once it scans through a PDF, it can take that whole document, scan it, a 300-page book in about 10 seconds, let's say. It's going to pull out all the key points because it's been programmed to look for headings, to look for anything that is a bullet point, and it's going to take all those, and that essentially is where it's going to generate its summary from. There's a lot of nuance information in between headlines and bullet points, and in most cases, it can summarize the nuance based off from the headlines and the bullet points. Um, I don't know if that's a great explanation. And I really should be better at explaining things like that since I am fully engulfed in designing and building AI tools. Um, but for me, myself, it's AI tools that have gotten me to the point where I can create AI software. Because a year ago, I had no idea how to build a website. Um, so I don't know if that directly answers your question. I think that'll be something I'll
I think
research deeper and bring back up in another show.
I think
Um,
also what it was doing was it was where my book's been published by other um, retailers, and they've put a summary of the book in that. I clearly knew that it was picking those up because it was actually giving me links, um, but it seemed to have a better knowledge of the text than I was expecting.
yeah, it's pretty fascinating the way it does that. Some of the, yeah, I really wish I could explain how that works, but I
That's all right.
really don't know. Um, I'd imagine it's a lot like the you're around and part of the development of the internet. And I'd imagine it's a lot like the ones and zeros. It's able to just take that data and make sense of it.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe.
where that data science background that you have, I am decades away from being anywhere near the knowledge base you have on that.
Um, there was another one that we did, and I don't know what program we put this through, but it produced a very short video of a document. I think
Oh,
Alan.
that sounds like something like Notebook LM. So Google has a great suite of tools. One of their tools that they have by Google is Notebook LM. Notebook LM, in fact, that's one of my favorites. I do a lot on that. Um, let me see, pull that up for reference. So Notebook LM, you can create notebooks in it, and basically it's similar to the way I mentioned Gamma is. So you have a knowledge base within Notebook LM. You can attach a bunch of sources. I use Notebook LM for planning and strategizing. We're engulfed in building our business right now, so there's a lot of different documents that I need to make sense of. So oftentimes, let's say I'm thinking about intellectual property rights. I might do a couple web searches on intellectual property rights. I'll take information about our business plan and our business, and I'll dump all that information into the knowledge base of Notebook LM. Notebook LM can then, from a prompt, I can tell Notebook LM, take the information about my business, take the knowledge base and the source data that I gave you, and tell me how I can structure this into a proper business plan using these notes. And it will actually go through and it'll create a business plan. It'll research, do deep research. Once you have that, it has several options where you can create a video. You create a voice overview, a mind map, reports, quizzes, flashcards, infographics, slide decks, um, all really simply just from uploading documents. Um, so for your video, we can take, let's say, your empowering learning course, and we can take the overview of it, which can be 3 or 4 paragraphs, slap that into the knowledge base and click create video. It's going to take that knowledge base. It's going to come up with the script. It's going to create images and slides, and it will do a complete podcast style overview of your documents that you upload. It'll be like a dual conversation. And the really powerful part of the videos that um, Notebook will make for you is they're interactive. So just like if you're in a, let's see, oh, a Twitter space, which I haven't been on X in a long time. But if you were back when I used to be on X a lot, we'd do spaces. And if somebody wanted to speak, they'd raise their hand so the host would know to call on them. You'd call on that person and then they would speak. Well, the video platform on Notebook LM is so powerful that during the podcast video session, there's a little hand at the button at the bottom. If you hit that hand, the AI host and co-host will address you as a guest and take your input and work it into the interactive podcast. So I've had a video that was a 5 to 7 minute video about a certain topic, but because I was engaging with it as a third party, I ended up having a hour and a half podcast off of 5 minute video because it kept adapting to the different questions and input I put into the conversation. So you get a virtual podcast from a simple video that was created from a simple text input. So Notebook LM is a very powerful tool, one that I absolutely love. Um, what other tools have you had a chance to play around with?
Before you go off that one, I'll just mention that I think that was what I think Alan put the visual pedagogy and curriculum into Notebook LM, and
Yes.
it came out with a video that was less than a minute long, and it was an extraordinary summary of that document.
And that, so there's a company called Hugging Face. Hugging Face is a AI platform, and from Hugging Face, you can access thousands of AI models and language models. Hugging Face is like the central hub if you want to find AIs that'll create videos that'll be conversational. Hugging Face is the place to go.
Okay.
Um, it's absolutely fabulous. They have lots of free tiers in there with lots of things you can do. But this brings us into one of the next points of AI that I wanted to talk about in this podcast here is governance. And what are some of the differences in AI? So when you're thinking about AI like ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Anthropic Claude, or Perplexity, these are large language models. And when you ask them a question, they're going to give you a direct answer. And that's really good if you just need a direct answer to something. These are also public um, AI models. So when you interact with them, it uses your data to help train AI models. Um, so that's where data safety comes in and AI governance. There's also private AIs that are not connected to the web. They're not um, accessible unless you're invited into it, and it's a closed circuit AI. So that way, all your information is private. It stays. It's not connected to the web. No, like none of your information crosses over into the public world. Um, and private AI systems are becoming more and more popular and a lot easier to build than they were 6 months ago. In fact, over the last 2 weeks, I've implemented my own private AI and I run my own AI systems now, which for me is amazing because whether my internet's working or not, since it's on my computer, I don't need Wi-Fi. I can run it all day long. I don't have to pay for credits because I own the AI myself. So when we're talking about AI systems and we're getting onto these different platforms, governance is going to be something that is going to become more and more critical as the AI world develops. And what I mean by that, we're very interested in getting our products into schools and into organizations. But schools and organizations and different institutions, they have very strict guidelines and criteria that you have to pass. And there's governments that are coming up with new rules and laws and safeguards for AI. So in order to be competitive in this market, we need to get past the um, governance layer, or we need to implement a governance layer into AI, and that is going to be the next wave of products, I believe, that's going to hit the market. And what that will do is that will make AI safe. What the overall purpose of governed AI is to build yourself a walled garden. So all of your data, all of your personal information stays within a protected bubble. Anytime you do a request to an AI, it goes through a governance layer, and before it goes and hits the public routes, it's going to check your prompt. It's going to pull out any PI information, personal identifying information, credit cards, birthdays, social securities, um, any medical records. It'll pull that out before it hits the public domain. It'll get answers to your questions. When the answers come back, it has to go through the governance layer. Now, that governance layer, you might have preset that you don't want certain type of information or certain type of content to be filtered back into your walled garden. So at that point, the governance layer can strip all that down, bring in the clean data, and that way you are fully protected at all times and your data is safe and it never leaves and enters the public domain. Um, for us at FPK, that's the future. Um, and that's a major focus of not just ours, but of many people in the AI industry. Um, what are some of the things that you have been warned of since you've been dabbling in AI? What are things that you've heard or you've been warned, or some of the horror stories that you might have heard along the way?
Um, I mean, the major things people don't. I hear people talk about is um, it's going to do me out of employment because they what I know people who write books and they go, you know, we're not gonna we're not gonna have a business of editing anymore because ChatGPT can do a really good job, or one of the others. Um, books are being. I mean, I saw an ad from somebody the other day. Books are being generated in minutes, and who is checking the quality of what they are producing? I mean, we're used to, you know, buying books from a books retailer which has got an author on it that we could go back to. Whereas when we have books being generated in hours and published, then what credibility have we got? That's a couple of things. Another thing, which I thought was really intelligent, was a school teacher I was listening to. I'm sorry I'm speakers so badly, but the echo is really messing with my brain. Um, anyway, the school teacher said um, he he encouraged students to use AI, and their homework was to critique the AI.
That's a fabulous idea. That is fabulous. And to your point, I know there's a lot of fear, and that's one of the things I've been seeing in the news and in politics lately here in the U.S. is the fear that AI is going to start taking people's jobs, and people are scared of AI. They don't want AI. Um, and if we stick to the publishing house conversation with AI, like creating books and things of that nature, um, I don't believe AI can really. There are some jobs it can replace, but even in replacing those jobs, there will always need to be human oversight. I can write a book with AI about any topic, and it might be really great. But there's one thing that AI doesn't have and will never have, and you'll be able to tell the difference in a book written by a person versus written by AI, and that's a soul. The way we write, the descriptive words we put in, the way we add our feeling and our emotion from the stories we're telling are different than an AI machine just giving you content. If I write a book about a certain topic and I have the AI write a book about that same topic, I truly believe that 90% of people, once they read through both books, would be able to know which one was made by a human and which one wasn't. And then when we're talking about publishing, looking at Amazon, let's say, their publishing house, whenever you submit a book now, there is a question on there. Was this written by AI? How much of this book was written by AI? And it wants you to, and you've got to like list it and say, yeah, it was 20% by AI or was edited by AI. So the publishing houses are starting to want to identify, but the AIs are also getting so good that it's getting hard to recognize. Um, but then when we're looking at other jobs, so AI and machines have already gotten into the auto industry. They're on
Yeah,
production lines, but the people who ran those production lines would be the best people to stand by and watch and verify and make sure that the AI is doing the job correctly. Because again, it is a machine. It makes mistakes and it'll keep making the same mistake until a human comes in and gives it a new program, a new order, a new prompt. So the fear of jobs being lost is understandable, but it's up to us to learn how to harness AI to where it's not a competitor for our job, but it's a tool for us as an individual to do our jobs better. And if you can harness that power, you can secure your position by being able to explain to your bosses and stuff that I'm using AI as a power, whether it automates tasks, I'm still controlling it and I'm still overseeing it, and there's still the human insight, which is what I believe everybody needs at the end of the day when it comes to books, task, work. You still need that human oversight.
yeah. I'll try and add something to that. Um, I'm very much involved in the world of creativity, and we can. Some people will go through the education system continuously reading stuff that's been around before and making some conclusions from that. And to me, that's what AI is going to be quite good at, because it's all published information. Whereas when I look at the creative inventions that we need, and we need to somehow enable our children to grow up and be creative geniuses. Um, to That's not going to be replaced by our AI.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Even in some of our products, we use AI for things like documents. So for my son has autism, I upload all of his documents into our platform. The AI will analyze it, and it'll give me a summary, or it'll um, do a evaluation based off from his documents. But I'm not going to take those evaluations from the AI as um, professional
Yeah,
human data points. I'm using it as a reference for a little bit of understanding. Just like if
yeah,
I use AI, my wife hurt her foot the other day. She used ChatGPT. Hey, I hurt my foot. It's doing this. It gave her a answer. I'm not going to get diagnosed by AI. I'll get an idea of what may be wrong, but I'm still going to go to a professional to verify. So when I get reports on my son and the AI generates an assessment, maybe it generates a behavioral analysis assessment for my son, it's going to be pretty good, and it's going to give me a clear understanding. It's going to do better than I can do, but I'm still going to take that to a clinical psychologist and be like, does this hold the mustard?
yeah.
Where's the gaps that the AI is not hitting the points right? So even though AI is there, we can get a lot of information for us. It's really great at summarizing. It's really great at bringing in data. There's just a million and one things that AI can do to improve our lives. Um, I don't know what kind of phone you carry around. I carry around a Samsung S25. AI is built into the phone. I rarely push buttons anymore. I'm like, hey, I need go check my calendar, post this to the calendar, do this, do that. And the AI just does it on my phone. It knows what's in there. So it's helpful, it's useful. But at the end of the day, I believe AI always will need that human oversight. It's not something we can fully trust because it's not human. And a lot of people are using these tools as if it's the definitive final answer. And that's where we'll run into problems, because it's not the definitive final answer. Um, what are some of the things you would like to see um, in the neuroscience space? What are some of the things you think AI can improve in the space of neuroscience, or some of the things you think it might be useful for that it's not being used for yet?
Gosh, I don't know the answer to that one.
Let's focus it on your expertise. So you're really good with you are the word form area specialist and empowering learning specialist. What aspects of AI do you think could improve the model you've built over the last 25 years of the empowering learning?
Yeah, I think it could build some very useful videos. I'll call them videos for the moment, um, to show how children are successfully using empowering learning. That's
Right.
something it probably could do. And from a variety of children and adults.
Let me help you out here. One of the things that I really think is from being engulfed in the empowering learning program and going through all the different aspects of it that I've been going through. Um, I think one of the great things that AI does for empowering learning and your method of teaching how to read and spell um, is the visual is the visual aspect of it. I think AI really is a complement to the empowering learning because empowering learning is about visualizing. And when you can use AI to help a student to visualize, you can have that student um, think of a color, think of an animal, think of an object, um, think of the letters that these objects represent. You can then take those ideas that that student has, as abstract as they are, and let AI create that image for that user to really solidify and lock in their imagination. They might imagine a big cat with a ball of yarn, but the yarn is spaghetti, and that's what they see. And the way they know how to spell spaghetti is because of the ball of yarn, and it's has an S tail hanging off from the yarn, and it can produce an image like that. So, as young kids and learners are using their imagination, feeding that imagination into an AI tool to see what their imagination produces, I think is a great way to reinforce using your imagination and using that visual technique to grasp grasp concepts. Um, so yeah, I believe AI and empowering learning have a lot of combined use
I
cases.
think I think one of the problems I see around that is we are trying to encourage children to create their own pictures. Um, and whereas if we are showing them pictures, that is visual teaching in effect. There is a very subtle difference here. Um, and it's caused a lot of confusion over the years. Um, Visual teaching is showing a child a picture. Visual thinking is creating your own pictures from a story, if you like. So when you read a book, are you creating pictures of what the story is about? Um, and creative and visual learning is about using both those groups of pictures to enhance your learning and to remember it. Does that make sense?
Yes,
And,
yes,
and with doing too much AI, we are making pictures for them which might not be the same as their pictures. They might be, for intrinsic motivation, they are likely to be much happier with creating their own pictures.
correct. Understood. All right, and then where do we roll on to from here? Um, oh, there was another topic on this: ethics and the future of dependency. Um, how do we? We're gonna skip that one because I don't even know how to address that one. I don't even know how to address that one. Let's see. Let's see. So what have we discussed? We discussed a few tools. We discussed how AI can be useful, but how AI still needs human oversight. We discussed how using AI as a tool to secure your job could give you peace of mind of not being replaced by AI. What are some other aspects of AI that interest you or you're not too sure about that maybe I don't know or maybe do know about? I think I'm running out of legs here on this topic.
I'm sorry. The man's come to collect a package for Bryony Every. I don't know where it is.
Excuse me, I've got to disappear for a second. You can talk without me.
No worries. So while Olive steps away, let me give a little recap to what we're doing here, folks. So this conversation about AI. We're looking at some of the different tools. I'll go ahead and lay out some of the tools that I use on a regular basis. So my typical day of using tools, get up in the morning, jump on my laptop. The first AI that I open up every morning is Manus AI. It's really powerful. It's really good at understanding code and breaking things down. It's like my go-to. So from using Manus, I also like to use, oh, here's a tool that I'll recommend for everybody who wants to dabble around and play with AI or just learn and play with different models. And it is, I can't think of the name of it, LM Studios. Check out LM Studios. That is a great platform for playing around with AIs. And it looks like Miss Olive has made it back in the hot seat just in time. And let me take her for the mic. There we go. She's back. All right, and we are back. So I was just going over some of the AI tools that I like to use on a regular basis. And I was just wrapping up on Manus. I also like to use uh, Google Gemini. Google Gemini is a very fun AI tool, very good at images. Nano Banana makes great images.
I
And
think to be
other,
able to create images is really useful, and I certainly appreciate that in the one we were discussing earlier. Um, for, what were we discussing? I've forgotten what it's called. The one that you put text in and it produces presentations.
oh yeah. For Notebook LM.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
Gamma,
so
Gamma for Gamma,
Gamma,
Gamma. Yeah.
and I think because I'm in the world of visual learning, to be able to see pictures rather than solid text is really beneficial. There's one interesting thing I'll tell you about visual thinkers is that when they're listening to auditory information, there is often a time delay as they are creating their pictures to remember what you said. And that doesn't happen with auditory thinkers, because auditory thinkers hear this is the end of the presentation and they've got an auditory track of this is the end of the presentation, whereas a visual thinker will convert that into a picture and there can be a slight time delay.
Interesting.
Would you like me to do that one again?
Yeah. Let's say that again. I like
I'll
that one.
try it with something else. Right, you want the kids to clear up their toys and sit down for dinner, right? You'll
Hmm.
give them 3 instructions that says, clear up your toys, go and wash your hands, sit down waiting for dinner. Now, a real auditory thinker will grasp that and keep running the auditory track. A visual thinker, if we want them to do all the tasks, they will convert it into 3 pictures and run it like a video. But there is a slight time delay. So when you're talking to a child who is a visual thinker, at the end of sentences, please pause. So they just have that little pause when they can make up their pictures.
Ah, interesting. And this is why we do it, folks. We want you all here to come on and listen and hear these fine tips. You know, the pause is, I've noticed since you said that, that trigger, I do that quite often with my son. I may have multi-step direction, but there's a pause. You need to do this, and then you need to go do this.
Yeah.
Now, 9 times out of 10, he looks at me like I'm stupid and he goes off and does his own thing. It's his autism, I get it. But I do see the tilt in his head. He goes like, huh? And he looks up and he thinks.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's thinking about the image or if he's thinking, should I listen to this guy or should I go do my own thing? But I can see his wheels turning, and he does the looking up, looking for that picture, looking for that image. So the pause is very important. The pause is very important.
But mental images is such a fantastic skill for memory. And
Absolutely.
It's like at the end of a sentence, if you were reading something, you full stops mean pause.
And I'm going to pop a little link here in the chat for the listeners to check out. This is Imagination Builder. It's one of our games from FPK University. It's a free game. Anyone go on there and play it. And it is about building your imagination and using visuals to help your students, your children, to explore their imagination. Olive, we've covered a lot of topics, a lot of different things on AI. We're coming about to the end of the show. We kind of had a structure. We kind of shot from the hip. Things are never as smooth as they are when we have Alan's handsome face in here, but either way, we get through it. I think it's been a great conversation. Let's lead into any last closing thoughts you may have on the topic, and we'll see if we can't wrap this up and get back at it again next week.
I think my final comment is try things.
Try things. Absolutely. I'm all about trying things, and when I try things, I try them and I try to break them. And if I can't break them, then it's a good tool and I keep it. So with that said, we're going to try things. We're going to explore AI. Last list, we talked about Gamma. We talked about Notebook LM. We talked about Manus AI, Google Gemini, Claude Anthropic, and ChatGPT. Those are 6 AI models, platforms that all of our listeners can go and play with. And with that said, anything left on my notes here? I think that's it. Thank you for joining us here at the Future Proof Knowledge Podcast Show. It's been another great episode with Jashon and Olive. All right, and we'll be happy to see you again next week. So with that, we're going to hit the outro. Olive, thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. I couldn't have done it without you. Otherwise, I'd just be talking in circles. And with that said...
It's a pleasure.
And we will end with the video.
FPK, Future Proof Knowledge Podcast. podcast. Mind unlocked. With every episode we cast real talk, real tools, wisdom on the fly. Tune in, geek out, reach for the sky. FPK, future proof knowledge podcast.